We're on the hunt for the elusive burdock. Burdock is a large-leafed plant that we find quite commonly in our Great British outdoors. Grows to about yay high and has a purple thistle type seed to the top of it. It's had many uses over the years, and going right back into the sort of prehistoric ages, it's thought that that was one of the main carbs and starches, very high in starches on our prehistoric diet, right up till about sort of 1580s, when Sir Walter Raleigh brought the potato here to the UK British Isles, and of course then the calorific expenditure involved in digging out this sometimes difficult root, it was just outclassed basically by the potato, the shallow rooted potato that you could just scoop up bundles in your hands and just made life a lot easier. It grows all over the UK. You can find it here in the southern part of England, right the way up into the north, and pretty much absolutely everywhere. It's a very hardy plant. It'll grow all year round. You know, you'll find it in springtime, you'll find it in summertime. You'll be able to identify it and pick it out in the winter as well, albeit most of it will have broken back down and died off. It's still there. It's just whether you've got the eye and the skill to be able to recognise it. It's actually better in terms of the root to get hold of earlier in the year, because the root hasn't pushed all its energy into making flower heads and seeds and things like that. So that's the optimal time, but this time of year is best for learning its identifying features. Let's try and find a big one we can dig up and talk about. They're like on their way. Oh crikey. That's the size leaf I want to be talking about. But I need one with the hole, with it all going on. This could be good. Before I get started talking about this today, I just want to bring the attention to something that's quite important, especially in this day and age. And people are, I don't know, sadly I keep hearing more and more stories that people aren't being respectful enough in the outdoors. So we actually need to pay attention. If we're going to forage for something, we need to respect the 4 F's. Okay, and that is foliage, fruit, flowers and fungi. Those are the things that we can permissively take from the countryside around us, but we need landowners' permission, and we need to make sure that when we are doing it, we're doing it sustainably or in a sustainable manner, and also it's not for commercial gain. So what does that mean? It means I'm not going out picking 25 kilo of mushrooms from the New Forest and then selling it all to restaurants, which is happening right now, which is quite sad, because those mushrooms play a key pivotal role in the greater scheme of things, in the ecology of that particular forest. But that's happening up and down the country. So for that reason, I want you guys to understand that. Now, I have landowners' permission to study and take this plant today and to dig it up in its entirety, in its whole form, because it is in fact the root that we're after, and I'm going to show you what you can do with that in just a bit. The greater burdock, Arctium lapa. It's important to understand the Latin for these things as well, because as we travel up and down the country or nationwide, certain trees, plants, flowers are named differently. Something might be a carpenter's herb in Sussex, might have a completely different name, and there might actually be a 3rd or 4th carpenter's herb up in Northumberland or somewhere like that. Okay, completely different species, different chemical constituents, and different relationships with us over the years. And if that knowledge gets passed on, maybe through social media incorrectly, we could land ourselves in a bit of bother. So it's always important to understand the exact species that you're looking at and why. This in particular, the burdock here, has these really large flat pan leaves you'll see down here. That's a big giveaway, and grows right up to sort of chest height. And it produces, if we look at it top to toe, these incredible seeds. Now these seed heads, if I pull one off, I'll show you just how sticky they are known as burrs. Okay, and as a kid I spent hours running around the fields of Sussex throwing burrs into my sister's hair. They stick to hair, they stick to clothing, they'll even literally cling to your skin if you give them a chance to, okay? Now, you probably won't be surprised when we have a good up close look at these, that this is where Velcro actually originates from. Tilly right in the side, she's trying to get to it. That's a great example actually of just how well they'll propagate themselves. You know, so these things often grow in abundance. Okay, where you'll find one, you'll find many more. And so for that reason, it's not hard to sustainably source these. Okay, so don't take the whole lot of them, just take what you need. I'll just show you what we can do with the leaves down here. So I'll just fold this out of the way so you can see this hopefully. Now with a good sharp knife, if you cut the stem nice and low, okay, on a slight angle, and then if I cut this stem again at a slight angle, pick this up, put my tool away. Now, as I said earlier, the leaves here are lobed. So just like your ears, they have this sort of lobed effect. What you're going to do is fold one lobe over the other, like so, and then place, okay, and then place the sharpened stem back through itself, and back through itself again. This is how we start to get your Peter Pan style hat. I know a little boy, a certain little boy who would absolutely love this. So we'll wait for him to arrive later. And that would sit on there, probably slightly too small for my great big head, but it'll be ideal for a certain little boy. If I pinch the bottom here, okay, it makes the perfect basket for foraging berries, which this time of year are nice and easy to source. What I'm now going to do is dig this up so that I can show you the root structure, and it's that root that we're really interested in. Full of starches and sugars, it's a great survival food. And I'm now going to dig around the base and try to liberate as much of this root as possible. Now some of these can get on for almost a metre deep. There's a large calorie expenditure involved when it comes to digging out the root here. Oh no! When they're really young like that and soft, they can just snap off in your hand. And when they're a lot older and they're a great big woody thing, equally they can give you a real run for your money and you have to fight to get them out. It can be a real tricky process. I'll see if I can get the rest of that out. And so in here, I've just accidentally knocked a piece of the outside. You can see that creamy, rich interior. Okay, and it's inside here that all these starches, really starch-rich root, is a fantastic survival food. Sweet, nutty, it makes an excellent chip. So I think we'll take this back to the camp and fry some up and see how they taste. So I'm cleaning this off because obviously it's covered in earth and we want to eat this now. This outer, you'll see here, comes off fairly easily, and it's this nice inner that I'm after, this piece here. This is absolutely full of starches. And while it's young like this, tender and fairly soft, this is what we can chop up to make burdock chips. I'll talk about this quite often, organoleptics, using all of our senses to positively identify the plant. Even though from the physical ID and the rundown I gave you earlier, I was absolutely certain this was burdock. Just another thing you can go with is the smell of the root. And I could just detect almost like a nutty smell to it, which does carry through in some of the taste. It's a bit like a sweet chestnut in the way it tastes, kind of carrot, potato and nut all in one. Although all parts of the plant are edible, both root and above ground, so all aerial parts, it's worth noting that the leaves are incredibly bitter and completely devoid of sugar. The root really is the most interesting part in terms of, you know, from the culinary side of things, being able to eat the thing. Making burdock chips is a great thing to do with the family. That said, medicinally, the burdock plant has been used to treat a wide range of things, from rheumatism all the way through to infections in the sort of GI tract and urinary infections. So worth doing your research on the internet as to how to go about preparing these things, whether you're making ointments, macerations, decoctions, or a wide range of herbal remedies. The internet's probably your best friend for that. Today we're going to focus on making burdock chips. So I'm going to prepare these little roots here, and you saw just now I've removed the outside. I'd now probably just trim up anything I don't like the look of, just kind of releasing that nice white creamy inside part. I'm going to turn these into chips. And you can quite quickly see what I was saying about the calorie expenditure involved, because after you've spent all that time digging it up, preparing it, cutting it back, cleaning it and getting it ready for cooking, you know, you're left with relatively small pieces, as opposed to the potato, which is obviously a shallow rooted, just abundance of carbs and starches again, which is very easily accessible. Doesn't require the same amount of digging or effort. Thin skin to peel off, you know, what's not to like? There's my chef's knife. Okay, now we're going to go and make our burdock chips. All we need to do is pretty much split these down the middle. It's as easy as that. I'm going to put some oil in the pan, put it over the fire, get it red hot, and then cut these down into small chip-sized pieces and pop them in. And it's as simple as that. Just going to shallow fry them, and then we're going to taste test them. And ensuring that you keep an eye on these could take anything from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how hard they are, what time of year you've harvested them, and how hot your fire is. So if we take a closer look, they should now be just starting to change colour, and they're going a bit browner. And that's the natural sugars that are inside here are starting to caramelise in the hot oil. That's pretty much a good indicator that they're nearly ready. Okay, give them a few moments in the air just to crisp up. They really are crispy. But there's that almost sugary, nutty undertone lying in there. You can tell it's not potato, but the rest of it tells me it's a chip. Here we go. So Peter Pan. Oh no. Put it on Mummy's head then. Does Mummy look funny?
Mummy's hat. Oh.
No, we're not impressed with that.